In just a moment from now, I'll take you through the Corona India dashboard numbers. We've added some very important data sets to this over the weekend. So our programmers and I have been working throughout to try and explain the COVID story and where we are going as intensively as we possibly can. But before I do that, I want to show you what's happened in Chennai, which is reporting about 70% of Tamil Nadu's total COVID cases. The state government has decided to go in for an intense lockdown in the city and 3 neighbouring districts. Tamil Nadu is the second worst affected state in the country, with cases nearing 45,000. The question is, should Delhi and Mumbai follow Chennai's lead as well? Here's our lead story tonight.
A complete lockdown in Chennai and 3 other districts of Tamil Nadu from 19th to 30th June. With Tamil Nadu being the second worst hit by coronavirus, the state government has tightened curbs. In Chennai, Kanchipuram, Chengalpattu and Tiruvallur, only essential services will be allowed. Grocery and vegetable and medical stores will be open from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Ration shops will be open between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Cabs and autorickshaws will not be allowed. Hotels and restaurants can function from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. but only for takeout and deliveries. While tea shops won't be allowed. Amma canteens and community kitchens will operate as usual. There will be 33% workforce in government offices, and those living in containment zones will have to be at home. The state government is calling it a maximized restricted lockdown.
Almost 70% of Tamil Nadu's over 44,000 cases are from the state capital, Chennai alone. The city is going to see an intense lockdown with people being asked to buy essentials within a 2-kilometer radius. And on Sundays, there will not be any relaxations at all.
And other states too seem to be moving towards a relocking. Punjab government has announced a complete lockdown on weekends and on public holidays. It has also sealed its borders with interstate bus services to capital Chandigarh being suspended. The Madhya Pradesh government has decided to completely shut Bhopal on Saturdays and Sundays in view of an alarming rise in the number of coronavirus cases. But with over 41,000 cases, the capital Delhi has decided not to go for a lockdown so far. As Chennai relocks, the question is, will Mumbai and Delhi that continue to witness a daily surge also impose restrictions to contain the spread? Bureau Report, India Today.
So is another lockdown inevitable? Is it required? Right now, the Chief Minister is saying no, but Chennai has gone in for another lockdown. I want to welcome first, joining us from the Harvard Medical Center in Boston, Dr. Asish Jha, one of the world's best-known public health experts. With us also on this broadcast, representing the ruling Aam Aadmi Party government in the national capital, its spokesperson Raghav Chaddha squaring off against him, Dr. Sambit Patra of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And then we'll deal with what the Prime Minister is going to say to state chief ministers tomorrow. For that, we have our national affairs editor Rahul Srivastava. But I don't want to involve the doctor in the politics of what's playing out. So I first want to spend about 5 minutes just talking to Dr. Asish Jha, and then we'll kickstart the political debate. And as I do this, I'll take our viewers through the COVID numbers on this Corona India dashboard and then get Dr. Jha to signal his areas of concern from an Indian perspective. At this moment, 79 lakh total confirmed cases globally. India is at number 4. We're at 3,32,000 confirmed cases. Russia is at number 3 with 5,36,000 confirmed cases. Here is a look at the daily graph, which shows that if you were to look at India, the graph is continuing to grow up. In fact, every day, virtually every day, we're seeing the highest numbers so far being reported. So we are far from being able to tame this graph or from being able to ensure that it starts plateauing or then coming down. The graph continues to rise. Maharashtra is India's most impacted state with about 1,07,000 cases, almost 4,000 deaths. Then there is Tamil Nadu, which at this moment has 44,661 cases, 435 deaths. Then there is the national capital of Delhi, where the deaths are more, 1,327, and there are 41,182 confirmed cases. Then there is Gujarat. Gujarat has 23,000 confirmed cases, 1,477 recoveries. I want to show our viewers the tracker, which really shows, and this is the concern that I have, the manner in which India is now, the number of cases is surging. But as doctors are saying again and again, relative to the size of the population, it's only inevitable that cases surge. In India, look not just at the number of cases, but at the number of deaths. That is crucial. And when you look at the number of deaths in India relative to the other countries, like the United States, like Brazil, like Russia, the number of deaths in India are far, far, far fewer. And that is important. At this moment, 9,520 deaths in India, while in the UK there were 41,000 deaths, Brazil 43,000 deaths, and in Russia and in the United States 1,15,000 deaths. Here is the world trajectory. Now the problem here, and we'll start by asking Dr. Jha about the trajectory. India has now overtaken Russia. So if you look at this, just at the speed at which cases are growing in India, you'll see the curve come on your screen right now. India has now, in terms of the rate of spread, overtaken Russia. Dr. Jha, there's a lot of concern because for most people who are watching, for the longest time, COVID was something they saw on television, read about in the newspapers, but it wasn't impacting people around them. Now we're at a stage where virtually everybody who's watching you live at this moment knows somebody or the other around him who's been hit by coronavirus. Net, what are you making of the big picture emerging from India?
Yeah, Rahul, thank you for having me on. I am worried, and I am worried not because of all the cases India has. On a per capita basis, India still has few cases and few deaths, but the trajectory, the path, the constant day-to-day increases are very concerning to me. And when I look at that and I think 10 to 12,000 people getting identified, that's much more than where India was even just a couple of weeks ago. And then I project out and I think, okay, so what's going to stop this? What's going to break this exponential curve? Because if we do nothing, the number of cases will continue rising, number of new cases will continue rising every day. And I am worried that the lockdown has already been done. I think there's very little appetite. I know that Chennai is going to do it again, but it has a big cost. Outside of a lockdown, there are only a couple of other things we know about stopping and slowing down the spread of this virus. And I'm just worried about whether India is going to be able to do all of that or not.
No, so what is it that you're talking about? Because I want to show our viewers the cases being reported just over the last 24 hours. And if you look at it now, the number of cases being reported in India is third highest globally. The US reported 19,000 cases, Brazil reported 17,000 cases, India reported 11,000, which is more than Russia, the United Kingdom, France, Italy have hardly any more cases. And if you look at the global list of cities, whether it's a Delhi, Mumbai or a Chennai, are now in the top 10 list of COVID impacted cities globally. You've got Sao Paulo, Santiago and Lima ahead, but after that you've got a whole stack of Indian cities. Now, India is really becoming the next big, or it already is, the hotspot globally. Far from being the area which is doing really well, India is now a global hotspot for COVID. Dr. Jha.
Exactly. And that's the worry here, is that it is becoming the global hotspot. And remember, we are still early in this pandemic with many, many, many months to go before there is a vaccine, probably about a year to go before there's a vaccine. And so the question in front of us is, what is India's strategy for slowing down the spread of the virus? And there are only three things that we know that make any difference at all. One is social distancing. The lockdown is the most extreme version of that. Second is testing, tracing, and isolation. And the third is wearing masks. And wearing masks is relatively cheap and easy, and I think it is very important that people start really doing that in an aggressive way. We've been talking about testing since the beginning of this, Rahul, and we know that while India has made some progress and good progress, it is far from where it needs to be on testing. And then the third one that we're going to have left is social distancing and lockdown, and I think we all want to figure out how do we avoid lockdowns over and over again for the next year.
You know, you're talking about testing, and I want to show our viewers the testing data, and I want to tell you that we've got important spokespersons from both the government that's ruling at the center and at the state Dr. Sambit Patra and Raghav Chaddha with us. And I want everyone to look at this data. And this is where I think political leaders are to blame, because if you look at a state-by-state breakup of testing data in Delhi particularly, this yellow line is Delhi. I'll pull it out on your screen right now. You actually see from about the beginning of June, testing numbers in Delhi are coming down. So far from going up, the testing numbers now just over the last, say, about 24 to 48 hours, you're seeing a slight bump, but testing numbers are coming down, and that really is a very big problem. But that problem is not unique to Delhi. Pick another state. Take, for example, I'll just call on our screen the data for Gujarat. While for a while the testing numbers are going up, here again, testing numbers in Gujarat plateauing. So it's not just the Aam Aadmi Party that's at fault. Look at other states as well. Testing numbers, they're plateauing. Let me take some other state. Let's take Maharashtra, for example. Okay, the graph that moves on your screen is now of Maharashtra. Here again, for a very long time, testing numbers, instead of going up, are actually coming down. Now, just over the last 48 hours, you see a slight bump, but actually testing numbers have been coming down. Uttar Pradesh testing numbers are going up, so that you can, but relative to the total size of the population, no. But net, the testing numbers in UP are going up. Take Rajasthan, for example. I'll call the Rajasthan numbers on your screen right now. There again, Rajasthan numbers, which at the beginning of June were much higher, are now actually coming down to about 13,966. Do you want to tell the netas who are listening to you live right now, Dr. Jha, why testing numbers coming down and why trying to artificially find some way of deflating testing data is hugely problematic?
Yeah, so look, I'm not a political person, and this is not to me a political fight. To me, the whole purpose of the lockdown, which I supported when the lockdown happened, I said, I think this is a good idea from a public health point of view. The whole purpose was to buy time. So what are you buying the time to do? You're buying time to build up a very extensive testing and tracing program. And I am worried that India had a very long lockdown, very costly, was good for curtailing the virus, but did not use that time adequately to build up the testing infrastructure. And now that cases are surging, this is where the testing should be surging. We should be substantially increasing the number of tests across the country. I am worried there are hotspots that we're missing because we're not even testing in those places, and we're missing a large numbers of cases.
So let's use that as the one response, and as I said, I'll keep the doctor away from the politics because that's not what this is about. And I want to put that question first to Raghav Chaddha of the Aam Aadmi Party, and I'll put out the Delhi testing numbers on your screen again. This is a 7-day rolling average because one day can show a spike or a big fall. But if you look at a rolling average, the numbers are net coming down from about the beginning of June. You actually see a decline, and then there's a slight bump. Raghav Chaddha, Dr. Asish Jha and every other doctor will say the whole idea of the lockdown was to ramp up testing capacity significantly. Rather than do that, state governments have actually been trying to reduce the amount of tests being done. Now that's changing, but he says it could probably already be too late.
I think we need to look at the reason why this graph has suddenly fallen. The reason is not that one has not been able to ramp up its testing facility. One has been able to do that over the last 75 days, and quite significantly. The reason for this is a guideline issued by the ICMR on the 18th of May 2020, version 5, which outlines 9 points and says that these are the 9 types of personalities that can be tested. We copy-pasted those guidelines and implemented in Delhi. And as you rightly point out, Rahul, we are not the odd one out. It's not that this problem is unique to Delhi. You look at Gujarat, you look at Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, whichever state you look at, has complied with the guidelines of the ICMR and has ensured that in letter and spirit there is compliance of these guidelines. Like every other government, our government also copy-pasted those 9 points and ensured its compliance. Now, as a result of which, what we saw that a lot of people were excluded from the the criteria that one had to meet in order to get oneself tested for COVID-19. That is being revised as we speak. Yesterday, a very productive meeting between the Honorable Home Minister as well as the Honorable Chief Minister happened, in which a fresh look, a relook at the entire testing paraphernalia and the criteria was done. And we are given to understand that very soon the numbers will increase rapidly, and testing facility in Delhi and the criteria will see an upward revision.
Dr. Asish Jha, do you believe the Indian Council for Medical Research is to blame here? That the governments are claiming that they just copied the criteria laid down by the ICMR, which is the nodal medical body, and therefore, you can't really hold this against the governments because that's what the ICMR wanted. What's your view, sir?
So look, I'm not going to get into the details of this. What I will say is when I look at the data in India and I look at how much testing is happening, I completely agree this is not a problem of a single state or two. I see this as a problem that is across the whole country. And it's probably a combination of guidelines and having adequate testing supplies. But really, this should be priority number 1, 2, and 3 for both the federal government, the central government, and the states to ramp up testing. And if ICMR guidelines are restricting that, then we need to have a conversation about revising it, which sounds like that's already happening. But this is very, very important to curtailing the disease.
Dr. Patra, we saw the Home Minister in action over the weekend and today going to the Loknaik Jayaprakash Hospital, which incidentally is a state government hospital, even though there was no state government minister with him, virtually taking charge. So is Amit Shah now the man who's taken it upon his shoulders to try and ensure that Delhi doesn't fall into an abyss?
No, of course. I mean, it was a welcome move. Today, the Home Minister was at LNJP, and I mean, this was a confidence-building measure as far as Delhi is concerned. Everyone in Delhi, you and me, all those who stay in Delhi are really worried about the kind of tentacles this pandemic has spread across the state. Secondly, and most importantly, it is quite easy to blame ICMR, the WHO, and everyone else, but to really introspect. I'll tell you without being politically correct as to why I probably feel that these testing numbers went down for a while in many states. There has been a kind of competition amongst the states, to project that they are the ones who are containing this disease in the best possible manner and they have the least number of diseases. So in fact, in this political competition to project their governance in the best possible state, many states have taken down the testing level. Many states have gone to the extent where they compromised with the people's health out there, but finally realized that you cannot compromise with the people's health. It's not just the testing number. Death numbers were projected in a wrong way by many states, and we have had n number of debates about that. I don't really want to politicize it, but this kind of state competitiveness is going to only create problem for the people and the residents of the state. We have to do away with it. And I firmly believe, borrowing from Dr. Jha over here, that it has to be targeted and tailoring approach. You have to target the areas and you have to tailor special approaches for these targeted zones. For instance, you would agree, Rahul, that as far as India is concerned, there are 5 to 6 hotspots across the country which amount for the 80% cases that we see in India. For instance, Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, some parts of Rajasthan. So these 5 or 6 areas need to have their own tailor-made solutions, and that's going to help us a big way.
Jha, what do you make of this competitive politics where somehow it seems to state governments that if the number of cases surge, then it throws up their inability to keep COVID under control. Therefore, they kind of start reducing the number of people being tested. If you didn't test, you never know. And therefore, it seems as if things are better than they actually are. And that seems to be just the instinct of our politicians cutting across the political divide that seems to be at play. Why, according to you, is that such a self-defeating strategy?
Yeah, it's a very self-defeating strategy. It's a very short-term strategy. It might get you some good headlines for a couple of weeks, but in the long run, the virus will win. This is, by the way, we're seeing the same issue play out in Brazil with President Bolsonaro. Our own President Trump has tried to downplay testing for the same kind of mindset. Here's the bottom line. Testing doesn't cause the cases, the virus causes the cases. You can put blindfolds on and act like you're not going to see the cases, but at some point it will become overwhelming. When I'm looking across the Indian subcontinent and also, looking at data on death, for instance, I'm very worried that we're continuing to miss a large number of cases out there. The best models right now suggest that every day maybe 30 to 50,000 Indians are getting infected. We're only capturing 10 or 12,000 of them. This is not any way to curtail and control this pandemic. We have to be much more aggressive on testing, and avoiding it is not going to get us where we need to go.
I saw some reports put together by epidemiologists which seem to suggest, Dr. Jha, that India could, over the next few weeks, overtake the United States as well and become the #1 COVID hotspot globally. Looking at the data and looking at the projections, sitting where you are, is that your apprehension as well, Dr. Jha?
That is my worry. And this is not a place where India wants to be number one. I believe India has the capacity, the intellectual and financial capacity to curtail this virus, but it has to be very, very aggressive. The one thing we have learned from countries that have done a good job and have managed to control the virus is that they always act aggressively and they chase after the virus, and they are not reactive to the virus. I think we need a shift in mindset in India that really sees the virus as an enemy, and we have to go after it very, very hard.
And there, Dr. Patra, questions will be asked about the manner in which the virus was presented before the people, where top politicians, if they present the virus as being death, that if you get the virus, then it's the end of time, and therefore there is a stigma attached and people don't really want to test positive because not something that you in fact are a COVID recovered patient yourself. So that's, you have some personal experience around it, but A, there is stigma. B, our netas have presented this as if, if you get COVID, it's the end of the world and therefore stay home, and therefore you've built this idea in people's head that even if they have a little bit of a cough and a cold, they'd rather, some of them, not get tested, not get found out, because if they do, then they believe that there'll be a huge stigma around it, and that's part of the problem, Dr. Patra.
First and foremost, I would like to amend the statement, the question of yours, by saying that the netas have projected it, any neta, be it the BJP netas, the Aam Aadmi Party neta or the Congress netas. I don't believe any neta has projected the disease in a way where you should stay quarantined in your home. It is a necessity. Right now I was listening to Mr. Jha, Dr. Jha rather, and he was saying that one of the 4 pillars on which this whole fight rests is, one of the most important pillars is quarantine and isolation. That is important. That is how we fight the disease, number one. Well, yes, stigma is attached. There are 2 parts to the fight in this disease. One is the government's preparedness, the state government, the central government's preparedness. And the second part is the responsibility of the citizens of this country. And over here, well, yes, it is the duty of every government to make people aware about the fact that there is no stigma attached to this disease. Anyone can suffer from this disease. Be prepared, but don't be panicked. Take precautions, but don't be panicky about it. But secondly, well, yes, we have seen people throwing out COVID warriors out of their rental homes. We have seen people attacking those who have suffered from COVID. So this is not we have seen people, in fact, really thinking as if anyone who is a COVID patient should not stay in my locality. These are citizen responsibility, which we all, as newsmakers, as politicians, as doctors, as advertisement agencies, have to come forward and teach them that, for God's sake, do away with any kind of stigma.
Raghav Chaddha, Chennai has gone in for another lockdown. We heard the Delhi government say there's no need for a lockdown in Delhi. If 4 districts in and around Chennai have felt the need for a lockdown, why do you say that there will be no lockdown in Delhi, or it's not required?
Look, first of all, as the Honorable Doctor on your panel also pointed out, that lockdown was essentially to buy time to ramp up your public health machinery. And I think that time that we had bought has served its purpose. We are able to put in place a public health infrastructure which can cater to people. The objective of the lockdown wasn't to eliminate COVID-19, simply because it cannot be eliminated by pausing economic and social activity for a few weeks. And that is what various countries across the globe have taught us, and one has learned from their experience. I think lockdown has served its purpose. What we really need to understand is the following. First of all, there needs to be a behavioral change, a permanent behavioral change until a vaccine comes out, which will include wearing of masks, which will include strict enforcement of social distancing as well as sanitization. Number 2, India must admit that we're in community transmission. Recently, I read a report published by the ICMR where they clearly said that we're not in stage 3, we're not in community transmission. If this is not community transmission, then what is? And I think we must acknowledge that we're in stage 3 and then accordingly plan. We are still sort of living in this denial mode where we keep on saying and planning as if we're in stage 2. Thirdly,
do you believe this when the government says, and they've been asked this question so often, including, forget what the netas say, even the Indian Council of Medical Research, when it is asked this question, it says, no, we are not in community transmission. And I read up what I could publicly about what community transmission means, and broadly I understood that if the case is being transmitted in the community without knowing the source, and the source isn't somebody from outside, then you're in community transmission. It seems pretty clear as daylight that India is in community transmission, at least to me as a layperson, as a qualified medical expert and one of the best in the world. Do you believe the statement by Indian Medical Council or by the Indian government when they say, no, we're not in community transmission, sir?
So of course, India is in community transmission. This is something I've never really understood why there's any question about this. You know, if you think about the 11,000 cases that were identified yesterday, they weren't all travelers from other countries. They all got the virus in India, in the community that they live in. There is, by definition, community transmission. I think this is a distraction. I think we need to really focus on how do we curtail the virus and not have a discussion about whether there's community transmission or not. Because the answer is
Sambit
yes.
Patra needs to respond to this. You're a qualified doctor yourself, Dr. Patra. And if you go through the definition of what community transmission means, and here you've got one of the world's top experts telling us the same thing. He's just laughing it off, saying, of course, we're in community transmission. Where is the doubt? Then why are we in denial, Dr. Patra?
Two things, and I firmly believe that ICMR also has qualified doctors and experts as well. So it's not that whatever they have said are wrong. Number two, as far as community transmission is concerned, I was listening to Mr. Guleria, Professor Guleria rather, on your channel, and he said there are two things. As far as community transmission across the length and breadth of the country is concerned, of course not. It has not taken place. For instance, there are many states, many cities, many small towns which do not have the requisite number of COVID cases to say that they have community transmission. Secondly, well, yes, the hotspots, some hotspots probably in Delhi may be having community transmission. I cannot vouch for that. Let's wait for the ICMR report. But does that change your attitude towards fight? You have to be prepared for the fight. You have to have beds. You have to have ventilators. You have to ramp up testing. That's what is being told even by the expert over here on the panel, that this is just a nomenclatural difference that does not make much difference. That does not make much difference. Your preparedness.
Dr. Jha, does this make sense to you?
No.
This is the best definition we've heard, that, okay, we may be in local community transmission, but at a national level, we're not in community transmission yet. Does that make any sense, or is that just verbal gymnastics?
I don't think it's useful. I don't think it helps us fight the virus more effectively. So if the question is, does every village and does every district, town in India have community transmission? Probably not. Almost surely not. But to me, that's not the interesting question. The question is there virus being transmitted in many communities across India? Absolutely. Probably not just in those hotspots, but in other places as well. And instead of arguing about this, I think what we need to do is come up with a plan that stops India from becoming the epicenter of this pandemic, which we all agree is not a good idea, and we have to find a way to.
Raghav Chaddha wants to come in on the issue of community transmission. Raghav.
I don't quite agree with my colleague Sambit Patra from the BJP when he says that we're in local community transmission and not a countrywide community transmission. Yes, we may not be in a countrywide community transmission, but when a countrywide lockdown was imposed, an argument could have been made that why not do a local lockdown? Why not do Delhi, Bombay, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Calcutta? But a countrywide lockdown was imposed. Similarly, I feel we are in a stage of a pan-India community transmission, and it's only going to grow further until we actually come out with a vaccine or a medicine. That's one. Number two, the first point or the first step towards solving a problem is acknowledging that there exists one. We must first acknowledge that we're in stage 3 community transmission, and it is entirely incorrect to suggest that we need to be prepared for all stages, etc., simply because the protocols that the WHO has put in place for stage 1 are different from stage 2, are different from stage 3, are different from stage 4. And therefore, if we acknowledge that we're in stage 3, different protocols and different procedures will be set in motion. And I think we as a country need to debate this and arrive at a conclusion.
Sambit wants to counter that. Sambit?
Yeah, I have a simple question over here. Supposedly, as my good friend Raghav puts in, as many in the Aam Aadmi Party, despite the contrary view from the ICMR, put in that there is community transmission, say in Delhi. So did the WHO prevent Mr. Arvind Kejriwal from visiting the LNJP hospital? I do not say that. I mean, there is no guideline from WHO that the Delhi Chief Minister should not have visited LNJP and taken the stock of a situation. They do not either prevent Arvind Kejriwal ji from having 30,000 beds as he had promised, nor does the WHO or the ICMR prevent the Delhi government from having the requisite number of ventilators. It does not prevent them. Please go ahead and do that. Supposedly, you say that there is a community transmission across the length and breadth of Delhi. So where is the preparedness is my question.
Okay.
Or are we going to
So the debate is now, Dr. Jha, getting very political, so I'll let you go. I don't want to hold you up and get you involved in this Indian political tutu-mem. I appreciate your time and the thoughts that you put out. Thank you very much, Dr. Jha, for joining us with your thoughts from the Harvard Medical Center. But Raghav Chaddha, Now you need to respond to Sambit Patra. Let's get the debate political. In fact, I'll take our viewers through what happened at the Loknaik Jayaprakash Hospital, a state government hospital. The Home Minister went there. He didn't have any state government representative with him. Here's a report on the Home Minister's visit to the LNJP.
Home Minister Amit Shah in the driver's seat in Delhi. Inspecting capital's LNJP hospital, the nerve centre of Delhi's fight back against coronavirus. The visit comes after the Home Minister took charge of the COVID war amid hospital chaos, rising cases and deaths.
Amit Shah here in the driver's seat. He's carrying out the review. This at a time where Supreme Court had come down very hard on the Aam Aadmi Party government for the mismanagement, calling the situation scary. But right here he is.
Shah has been holding back-to-back meetings with the LG, Chief Minister Kejriwal, political parties and top officials in the last 48 hours, rolling out key decisions to end Delhi's woes. Over lack of beds, hospital admissions, overcharging and slowing number of tests. The move will ensure a crucial price cap on private hospital bills. The centre will also give 500 rail coaches at Delhi's Anand Vihar station to add 8,000 additional beds and a big helping hand in the testing boost. Delhi can also look to benefit from the new testing protocol using antigen testing kits. Aimed at containment zones, the new tests can give results in 15 minutes and won't require a second confirmatory RT-PCR swab test.
नई टेस्टिंग की विधि आई है जिसमें 450 रुपए में टेस्टिंग होगी और वो 15 मिनट में उसकी रिपोर्ट मिल जाएगी। लॉकडाउन को लेके किसी भी तरह की कोई चर्चा नहीं हुई, वो अपनी ओर से कुछ लोग कयास लगा रहे थे।
ट्रीटमेंट की जो बात है, प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल में हम और टेस्टिंग के लिए जो लैब मनमानी कर रहे थे, पैसे ले रहे थे अधिक, उनकी कैपिंग करने के लिए कमेटी का गठन हुआ है, जो कमेटी 2 दिन में रिपोर्ट देगी और उसके बाद जो पैसों में जो मनमानी थी वो समाप्त होगी।
As the ruling BJP at the centre and AAP in Delhi join forces, the Congress blamed the duo for the capital COVID crisis.
तकरीबन 3.5 लाख से ज्यादा लोग संक्रमित हैं, मौतें 10,000 के करीब हो चुकी हैं, दिल्ली में भी वैसी परिस्थितियां हैं। क्या ये दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री जी जिम्मेवार नहीं है? क्या देश के गृह मंत्री जी या देश के स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जी या जो एक अपील पर लोग देश के प्रधानमंत्री के साथ खड़े होते थे, क्या प्रधानमंत्री जी इसकी जिम्मेवारी लेंगे?
The bipartisan approach to fight the virus comes as Delhi witnesses a surge in number of positive cases and deaths, and complaints of acute shortage of beds and overcharging by private hospitals.
The pandemic may have forced political adversaries to come under one roof. Chaired by Amit Shah, the meeting has had all sort of political hues and ideologies coming together. But it is the ground situation which remains extremely worrying. But with Amit Shah being in picture, will things really change? That needs to be seen. With camera person Sanjeev, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for India Today.
So when you see these images of the Home Minister marching through the Delhi State Government Hospital, you wonder, Raghav Chaddha, if Amit Shah is now in charge and the super boss of Delhi. Where did Arvind Kejriwal go? Is he having to step in because of the dereliction of duty on the part of the Chief Minister? What's going on? What's your view?
Well, to be honest, on the contrary, I actually feel that it is for the first time that the union government and the state government are working in tandem in close coordination. And we are together in this fight. I think we have to fight COVID-19 and not each other at this point in time. And I completely dismiss any inferences of one upmanship or one superiority and the other one's inferiority that one may derive from this visit. In fact, on the contrary, Rahul, I am absolutely purely delighted that the Honorable Home Minister visited LNJP.
No, but Sambit asked you, why didn't Arvind Kejriwal go to the LNJP?
I will certainly respond to this. But let me just make one quick point that I'm delighted that the Home Minister visited LNJP, inspected the hospital and spoke to the doctors himself and applauded their efforts. In fact, if you were to listen to the medical director of the LNJP, he explained that in the meeting, Mr. Amit Shah was delighted with our preparedness. In fact, the certificate of no objection, or perhaps a good report card has been given to the Arvind Kejriwal government by no less than the Home Minister of India, and therefore I think this political bickering over
Sambit wants to come in on that. The medical director thinks that the Kejriwal government's done a great job. Sambit.
This is the endorsement that comes from no less than the Home Minister now.
Finished. Raghav, I'll just take a few seconds. Raghav, I agree with you that this is not the time of bickering, and I firmly believe that people of Delhi and elsewhere as well would not like if two spokespersons of leading political parties sit and start mudslinging over each other. Well, yes, it is our duty as the central government.
Sir, पिछले हफ्ते तक तो लड़ रहे थे, अब mood change हो गया. Till last Friday when I had the same show, they were pouncing on each other. What happened?
In the show, but I'll tell you. See, I have myself suffered from the disease. And let me tell you, can I say you? I have myself suffered from the disease. The last thing that I want anyone in Delhi, my known, my unknown, is that they should suffer from this disease. Please, God forbid, no one should suffer from this disease. No one should have that pain. Let's not fight. Well, yes, the Home Minister did what in fact was the right step. And as far as Arvind Kejriwal and the Delhi government is concerned, and the certification that my friend Raghav Chaddha was talking about, I believe they still have to reply to the Supreme Court, what Supreme Court said 4 days ago. So please wait. Let's not go into the certification business. Certification is what happens on the ground. If people don't suffer, if the cases come down, if people don't die, then I believe that is the certification. We don't have to wait for any medical superintendent or anyone else's certification.
I want to go across to Rahul Srivastava, our National Affairs Editor. He and his team are tracking. Well, one second. The crucial meeting of the Prime Minister with Chief Ministers in 2 rounds tomorrow and day after. Rahul, what's on the agenda for this meeting? What's likely to happen tomorrow? What kind of points will be taken up for discussion? Rahul?
Meetings are going to happen. Hello?
Go on. Rahul, I hear you. Okay, give me a moment, I'll try and fix that connection. Sambit Patra, there clearly has been a change of heart. Now, I'm glad that there has been, because just last week, Raghav wants to come in and respond to that. Till last week, Raghav Chaddha, and you can't say that you weren't fighting, because you were on the show, and I got inundated with messages. Kyun bulate ho in netaon ko? Look at the way they're fighting. Is this what we need? We'll die, they'll kill us, and they'll fight with each other. This is the kind of feedback I got to the last time you were on our show.
So, thank God that Sambit and I have reconciled.
Not you, Dr. Patra, but Raghav Chaddha was.
Okay.
Well, thank God that Sambit Patra and I have reconciled, and we're not fighting, and we're talking of Samadhan and not Siyasat, Rahul, on your show. But let me also highlight one brief point of the Honorable Supreme Court's observations that my dear friend has mentioned. We will certainly now use this certification, this endorsement that comes from no less than the Home Minister of India, when we place our affidavit before the Honorable Supreme Court. That look, the Home Minister of India, who comes from the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is a political adversary of the Aam Aadmi Party, visited a hospital that is under so much scrutiny.
Okay, Raghav, really, this does no good. If he changes his mind and again there is confrontation, all of us suffer. So right now I want Sambit Patra and Raghav Chaddha to be best friends, because that's important for the health of the capital and the health of the country. That is crucial. Don't try and score political brownie points. You'll be back to being in a pit fight again. Thanks very much for joining us. Rahul Srivastava, what's the agenda? You're on board the Newstrack. India bade farewell to rising star Sushant Singh Rajput today. The actor's death by suicide has put issues of mental health into the national spotlight. But it also seems to have opened Bollywood's can of worms. Actor Kangana Ranaut today called out the hypocrisy of Bollywood A-listers and has reignited the nepotism debate.
सुशांत सिंह राजपूत की मौत ने हम सबको झंझोड़ के रख दिया है, मगर कुछ लोग जो इस चीज में माहिर हैं कि कैसे पैरेलल नैरेटिव चलाना है, वो इस तरह से चला रहे हैं कि हाँ, जो इनका दिमाग कमजोर होता है वो ये डिप्रेशन में आते हैं और सुसाइड वगैरह कमिट करते हैं.
A day after Sushant Singh Rajput's tragic death, National Award-winning actor Kangana Ranaut released a video message wherein she slammed the film industry.
क्लियरली कह रहे हैं कि लोगों को बैक कर रहे हैं कि प्लीज मेरी फिल्में देखो, मेरा कोई गॉडफादर नहीं है, मुझे निकाल दिया जाएगा इस इंडस्ट्री से.
Kangana said that the industry treated Sushant unfairly and that he did not get his due despite his intelligence, a series of strong performances and box office success.
साल के स्पैन में काय पहुंचे जैसे उनको कोई डेब्यू की कोई एक्नॉलेजमेंट कोई अवार्ड नहीं मिला या केदारनाथ या धोनी या छिछोरे जैसी फिल्म एक गली बॉय जैसी एक वाहियात फिल्म को सारे अवार्ड मिलते छिछोरे इज द बेस्ट फिल्म एंड द बेस्ट डायरेक्टर उनकी फिल्म को कोई एक्नॉलेजमेंट नहीं.
This outsider versus nepotism battle has been raging on Twitter since the news of Sushant Singh Rajput's suicide broke on June 14th. From Shekhar Kapoor to Anubhav Sinha and now Kangna Ranaut. Celebrities have shared very telling and pointed allegations towards what is known as the elite club of Bollywood, or the Bollywood mafia as Kangna calls it.
I mocked you.
You did.
Did I?
Of course, you made fun of my English on this couch and you made fun of everything. Flag bearer of nepotism. So you've been the driving force in my life. If it wasn't for all the rejections and mocking and all the...
Yes, this phrase was in fact first used in 2017 by the Manikarnika actress.
Very snooty and completely intolerant to outsiders and the movie mafia.
When she appeared on Karan Johar's show, Coffee with Karan, and called him out for being the flag bearer of nepotism, giving opportunities to only star kids and making it difficult for the outsiders to get in.
A lot of it is just perception and half of it is not true.
No, but I like that. I like the antagonist in you in my biopic. Please, it has to be you.
Kangna, known for her brazen honesty, also spoke about feud with Bollywood in 2019 at the India Today conclave.
And you know, where he is, where you are, all of these people, it'll be...
He will never be where I am.
It'll be very tough to survive, you know. As you said, do or die for you. Your comments about certain individuals who you've had big fallouts with, starting with Karan.
Well, I personally, you know, after at that point of time, you feel really intensely about it, but later on, you definitely do not have really strong emotions. But I definitely feel that, looking back, I would, like I said, I still find it absurd that how can somebody just deny knowing you after working with you in 2 films? So I would definitely think it's dumb, you know, now, even if I think about it like 100 years later, or even, you know, like how Karan mocked me on IFA stage and called me, you know, sort of on nepotism, and as he said, I'm jobless and I'm looking for a job from him or something like that. I mean, look at my talent and look at your movies. I mean, really.
Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
He really called me jobless in London on some platform. So no matter what the time is or what the era is, I will always think that some people really needed a bit of a dose of Chavan Prash or something at some point.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here in the Newstrack team.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kanwal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.